Hello guys, welcome to Basic Nursing Classes. Myself Amanpreet. In today's video, we are moving on with our topic burns. In the previous video, we discussed about the type of burns. Okay, the main types were discussed about according to the size. Okay, and according to the depth. Okay, and now in this video, we are going to talk about the pathophysiology of burns, but basically happens after there occurs a burn injury. Okay, so let's move on. So following a burn, there is injured or burned tissue, and after the injury that tissue releases some vasoactive substances. Okay, and these vasoactive substances, these increase the capillary permeability. Okay, the permeability of the capillaries that increases, because the permeability that increases, so there is more leakage of plasma. Okay, so plasma that seeps into the tissues from blood. Okay, from the blood the plasma gets transferred from blood to the tissues. So that's as a result of their seepage, there occurs the body edema. The tissues get swollen up. Okay, which results in generalized body edema. And moreover, because in the blood the amount of plasma that decreases, so there is decreased circulating blood volume. Okay, so the blood volume that decreases. Okay, so obviously because only the plasma has decreased, but RBCs, WBCs, these are the same. Okay, their count is still the same, which further leads to increased hematocrit level. Okay, because of plasma loss. So in initial phase after the burn, there is increased hematocrit level. Okay, so remember this. And moreover, because the plasma that seeps into the tissues and there is decreased blood volume, it can lead to fluid loss. The fluid loss, which the further fluid loss from the body, it leads to impaired organ or tissue perfusion, because obviously the blood, the tissues, the organs, they need constant supply of blood and oxygen to keep functioning. But if there is no fluid, the fluid has lost in a excessive amount, so there is impaired oxygen levels in the tissues and in the organs. So tissue perfusion has decreased. Okay, and obviously if the major organs like the kidneys, the lungs, the heart, okay, and the GI tract, they have decreased oxygen levels and decreased blood supply, so it can lead to many complications. For example, what happens in the kidneys? So because of impaired blood perfusion, it can lead to oliguria, decreased urinary output. Okay, and moreover, because of decreased tissue perfusion to the GI tract, okay, the gastric motility that also decreases, which can lead to intestinal ileus. Okay, and moreover, the GI dysfunction also happens. Okay, and moreover, in immune response, there is decreased immune response. Okay, that results in immunosuppression, and that increases the risk of infection and sepsis. Okay, and in lungs, there is decreased arterial oxygen level, and that leads to decreased lung compliance. Okay, so all these are complications of fluid loss, and fluid loss which leads to decreased tissue perfusion. And moreover, because the body has less amount of water, less amount of fluid, so it can lead to decreased cardiac output also. So cardiac output, it is related to tissue perfusion. Okay, and because the cardiac output has decreased, so obviously it can lead to decreased BP. Okay, the signs and symptoms: decreased blood pressure, hypotension occurs, and to compensate that, the heart will function more. Okay, it will increase the load on the heart, that leads to increased heart rate. Okay, so these are the main sign and symptoms. Okay, the patient will be having low BP and increased heart rate or increased pulse rate. And of the electrolytes, there is decreased levels of sodium and increased level of potassium, hyperkalemia, because sodium and potassium pump that works opposite to each other. Okay, so one, if the one level of one element increases, the other level increases. If the level of sodium is decreasing, then obviously the level of potassium will be increasing in the body. Okay, and these levels, if they are major up and down, that can lead to dysrhythmias. Okay, and because of decreased cardiac output and decreased tissue perfusion in severe conditions, the burn is very severe, it can lead to shock. Okay, hypovolemia. Okay, because of the fluid loss, it can lead to hypovolemic shock, which can ultimately lead to death. So it is most common in the full thickness burns, okay, where the body surface area which is involved is more in the large size burns, and plus when the deep layers of the skin, these are involved in burns. Okay, so that's the major pathophysiology, basic pathophysiology, which happens after the burns. Okay, and so the nurse has to look for the sign and symptoms of shock. Okay, that is very important to treat, and plus the fluid loss, which is very important to maintain. Okay, we have to maintain the fluid balance in the body. So next we are moving on to the burn location, because we have to remember, we have to focus upon the area upon which the burn has happened. It's very important. For example, if there is burn on the hand or on the mouth or the neck part or the torso, the front torso, chest area mainly, then it can lead to some severe disabilities or the difficulty in breathing. Okay, which can lead to respiratory or pulmonary dysfunction. Okay, because we need to breathe through the mouth, the neck, these are the main major organs, the nose. Okay, and if these are damaged, so it can lead to breathing difficulty, and if breathing difficulty happens, it can lead to respiratory or pulmonary dysfunction. Okay, so we have to look upon the location of the burns also. And in some burns, it can lead to some disability for lifetime. For example, if there are burns on the extremities like hands or feet, if they are major damaged, okay, majorly damaged, so that can lead to disability. The patient cannot walk, he cannot write, or like these symptoms. Okay, that can lead to disability. Moreover, the burn has effects on the eyes of the patient. Okay, or the ears are affected or the nose is affected. So these all locations that can lead to some disabilities after in the rest of life. Okay, and moreover, if the burn is on extremities like the legs or you can say on the arms, that also can lead to compartment syndrome. Okay, we will discuss about the compartment syndrome in other video. Okay, so this is very common if the burn is on the extremities. And moreover, because of burn, the mortality rate, it is very high if the age of the person, it is less than 4 years or more than 65 years. And moreover, if it's more severe, the mortality rate is more if the child is newborn or his age is less than 1 year. Okay, and obviously the person who is more than 65 years. Okay, because of the these persons, they have decreased immune response and they already have decreased fluid levels and decreased immunity. So all these factors, these combine together in the persons who are old. Okay, so mortality rate is obviously high. And moreover, if the person who is having burn, he is already suffering from any underlying cardiac disease, any respiratory disease, or any endocrine or any renal disease. So mortality rate is more in these patients. Okay, so these are the basic things you have to remember about the burns. In the next video we are gonna talk about a little bit about the inhalation injuries, which are injuries, the burns which are related to the inhalation, like we can inhale the smoke, we can inhale heat, okay, or we can inhale any smoke, any chemical, any gases like carbon monoxide. Okay, so about these injuries, these burns, we are going to talk about in the next video, and then we will move on to the management. Okay, so good luck. Thank you.